CBS continues to falter under its new management and ownership, but they're showing no signs of reversing or changing course. And honestly, a reversal is probably out of the question at this point. But I have to assume that the powers that now be knew that with the swing from a once respected and trusted journalistic outlet to conservative pandering slophouse, they would lose some viewers and maybe even some hosts. Maybe that was the plan all along, though, to purge the old guard to make room for the new. Because that is exactly what's happening. Stephen Colbert's contract with Late Night has not been renewed, thanks in no small part to his ongoing and pithy criticism of Donald Trump and his administration. Anderson Cooper has left his gig at 60 Minutes. Cooper is still a generally well-respected journalist and host, and 60 Minutes, until now, had a very strong and enduring reputation in the field. Now the network has lost another heavy hitter, Scott McFarland, the top Justice Department correspondent at CBS. And according to insiders close to McFarland, one of the reasons he left was because of the decision to install Tony Dokoupil as the anchor of the storied CBS Evening News. Dokoupil has had a rough go of it since he took over the anchor desk once occupied by the illustrious Walter Cronkite. Ratings tanked almost as soon as he took over, and his first week was riddled with technical difficulties.
Now, to Governor Walz, no, we're going to do Mark Kelly. First day, big problems here.
But one of the things that influenced McFarland's departure was Dokoupil's coverage of the 5th anniversary of the January 6th insurrection at the Capitol. He decided to present both sides of the incident, presumably to appeal to higher-ups at the network, as well as to new audience members that the network is hoping to attract.
Also tonight, 5 years after the January 6th attack, a group of pardoned defendants marched through Washington. President Trump today accused Democrats of failing to prevent the attack on the Capitol, while House Democratic leader Hakeem Jeffries accused the president of, quote, whitewashing it.
And I don't want to make it sound as though Dokoupil is just a pawn and has no say in how these stories are presented. For one, he is the presenter, so he takes responsibility for the things he says and the ways in which he frames stories. For another, he took the job knowing who was going to be running that network. Also, past reporting from Dokoupil suggests that he really is as conservative as he appears to be, so much so that it throws his own journalistic integrity into serious question. For example, before he was even announced as the new anchor for CBS News, he went viral for a question he posed to author Ta-Nehisi Coates on CBS Mornings.
I want to dive into the Israel-Palestine section of the book. It's the largest section of the book. And I have to say, when I read the book, I imagine if I took your name out of it, took away the awards and the acclaim, took the cover off the book, the publishing house goes away, the content of that section would not be out of place in the backpack of an extremist.
I have a very moral compass about this. And again, perhaps it's because of my ancestry. Either apartheid is right or it's wrong.
And I'm not saying that in a perfect world you cannot be both conservative and a journalist, but we don't live in a perfect world. In fact, we live in a very strange world, and in this version of reality, so-called conservative journalists just seem to ignore facts, intentionally misreport them, or frame them in a way that is intentionally misleading. Journalistic integrity should be called into question anywhere journalism is said to be happening, and that's at small networks, with online commentators, and especially with large networks like Fox News and now CBS. Bias is one thing, but when the pursuit of bias precludes you from accurately reporting a story, then can it still be called journalism? That is a question. All of that said, CBS has historically been known to be one of the more objective news outlets. It wasn't as flashy as Fox or CNN or maybe even MSNBC, but that was the point. 60 Minutes didn't even have a theme song. It just had that ticking clock for decades. So anyway, McFarlane had covered the Capitol riot and its subsequent fallout extensively over the last 5 years of his career, so to see it now discussed so flippantly on his own network was, I imagine, very frustrating for him. Regarding his departure, McFarlane posted this to LinkedIn. It was a note that he shared with his now former colleagues at CBS, saying, "As Tom mentioned on our 9 a.m. call, I want to personally let you know that my work will soon no longer appear on CBS News. This is my decision, and I appreciate the bosses at CBS for understanding it. I will always value the opportunity I had to work alongside the talented and committed professionals here. I'm proud to have had the word CBS correspondent next to my name, always will be." For the next phase of my career, I look forward to some independence and finding new spaces to share my work in line with my personal goals. I thank you all. The work will not stop, and I'll always be a call away. As for CBS, ratings have been down for the network. It turns out that what many of us suspected to be true is in fact true. With a conservative swing, CBS didn't lose more left-leaning viewers and replace them with right-leaning viewers. They just lost left-leaning viewers. Stop. The conservatives that they are now catering to already get their news from places like Fox News or Newsmax or a plethora of online commentators and podcasters that they, for whatever reason, trust. They don't have much incentive to switch over to a new network, so what is the point of any of this? The Ellisons obviously have some big-brained and big-moneyed goal that they are pursuing, but a MAGA shift in the 10th year of a president and administration that appears to be sunsetting before our very eyes seems kind of dumb. Maybe they're hoping that the MAGA movement will outlast the Trump administration, but I honestly don't know how it will survive without Donald Trump at the top as its leader. Or maybe they're laying the groundwork for an ongoing propaganda-pushing state-run media, but to do that, they first have to eradicate any relics of actual journalism, along with journalists like McFarland. That's certainly something to be concerned about. When Americans would hear about state-run media in other countries like Russia or China or India, we would often ask, if they know it's state-run, then why do people listen to it or believe anything that is being said on those networks? And I don't have an answer, but as more and more Americans become desperate to find truth wherever they can, after being told for the last 10 years that traditional media outlets have just been reporting fake news, after being told and agreeing that Donald Trump is the only man they can trust, I hope it's finally not too hyperbolic to say that this is where we've been headed for a long, long time. All right, that's it for me. If you got anything out of this, please like the video and subscribe to the channel for more. Thanks.